Now that the first of several planned sequels is coming out, here is my review of 2009's Avatar. It was the highest grossing film of 2009 by a landslide and still ranks among the most successful ever made, but is all the hype and snipe warranted? Had out just over a decade after it came out? Let's open it up and find out. I have the version with the theatrical cut as well as the extended release and the ultimate cut, and made sure to watch them all and make note of the scenes in each version as I've begun doing for the last year or two. So, let's get this started. We open on Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington, who is paralyzed after serving in the Marines and ends up going to the Force One of Pandora instead of his late brother. The ultimate cut has the most extended version of the beginning, with whole prologues on Earth to add to his backstory and motivation for going to Pandora. Speaking personally, it's honestly the definitive version of the intro. The skybox does give me Blade Runner flashbacks in the advertising. That, and the alternate opening does feel like a test run for the Sarah Battle Angel. Even with all the discourse about the characters in the story I've seen online, one comment I did see at the time is that it's an indeed visually stunning movie, even just watching it in 2D. It's held up in terms of special effects much better than I expected, to a point where the sequel not only looks slightly better, if just as good. James Cameron definitely prides himself on being a visual innovator, and with the sequels, he definitely was ahead of the curve of visual effects work being done from home even before the pandemic started. The music is also an aspect I especially love, with the late James Horner turning great work. It's one of several collaborations he did with Cameron in his life. He may be gone, but his composition will last forever. The supporting cast is also full of people who fit the roles remarkably well. The intelligent and abrasive Dr. Grace Augustine, played by Sigourney Weaver, and the smarmy, erudite accountant Parker Selfridge, played by Giovanni Ribisi. Fitting. When he's not trying and failing to extort hush money from Batman, he's bankful in expectation for the mineral unobtainium. Even after all this time, the scene of Jake awakening in his avatar body for the first time and taking for a test run in Ways of One is great. Each succeeding cut adds more to the scene, and any version makes the ideal mix of wonder and spectacle. It also fits Jake's character, some learn through instruction, others through experience. Jake is very much in the latter camp. Other supporting cast members include Trudy, played by Michelle Rodriguez, Dr. Norm Spellman, played by Joel David Moore, and Dr. Max Patel, played by Dileep Rao. We'll get to supporting players in Na'vi later. Also, Colonel Miles Quaritch, played by Stephen Lang. The way he talks to Jake before the first recon mission is a key scene, which will just keep the scars he got in the first tour of Pandora as a reminder. He and other RDA recruits also use the Armored Mobile Platform Suits, or AMP suits for short. Think a larger version of the power loader from Aliens and you've got it. While the school was only briefly mentioned in the actual cut, its entire plot thread in the others, which adds more shades of grey to the conflict. So an entire new scene in the abandoned schoolhouse, and the copy of Lorax on the bookshelf is a nice touch. This movie only makes a slightly weird adaptation than the actual one that came out in 2012. The first research sample also foreshadows the wildlife connections on Pandora. Ends up separated from the group, and as night the Force leads to her meeting Neytiri, played by Zoe Saldana. While her tribe is hesitant, the Queen does agree to let him learn under Neytiri's guidance. Over the course of the story, their bond grows into something more, though her parents, Moat, played by CCH Pounder, and A2 Khan, played by West Studi, are accepting. Her brother Sute, played by Laz Alonso, is doubtful. The scene in the mess hall is extended cuts I watched as I kept his log entry are longer. Jake's particular especially notable. Just about covering the new scenes, the extended ones that will be discussed next. The second half in particular has at least 3 full minutes of footage added back into the actual cuts. As for any parallels of Pocahontas, look at it this way. Since the mouse owns Fox now, that's one less film they might do a live-action version of. Any Ferngully by way of Dance with Wolves parallel is also justified. Personally, it's one of the several science fiction parables I've seen for Vietnam. The conflict also having influenced the Star Wars saga, the Predator franchise, and Cameron's own work on Aliens, if you make your own assumptions. The hunting, bonding, and beast taming scenes also extended in the other 2 cuts. More shots of the flying Ikram mounts also welcome, along with more marvelous mountain moon majesties. Though Jake does end up becoming an honorary member of the tribe, both Parker and Quaritch express concerns about him going native, especially the latter. He ends up being disconnected along with the worst possible time, being given just 1 hour to evacuate the locals before the RDA does it by force. He doesn't succeed. The destruction of the home tree is already a sad scene, but the cuts I watched to write this make it even sadder. A2Khan is killed, giving his boat an Atiri in his dying words. Jake realizes he has to bond with Toruk Mokto, the Alpha of the Ikron, to regain their trust. Also, regarding the shot in the burnout forest, again, make your own assumptions. Grace and Norm are detained for siding with an RV, but Trudy breaks them out after giving Rogan during the attack on the home tree. Grace ends up killed in the escape, though she's given honorary wig that does help foreshadow her potential reincarnation in the sequel. To Tammy and Taruk Mokto, Jake helps lead an RV in battle against the RDA. Though the final battle is admittedly no Helm's Deep, it actually holds up quite well visually. Trudy gives an assist against her former leaders, dying in the process and taking down a few with her. Sute is mortally wounded during the battle, and when Atiri is ambushed, the wildlife joins the battle, whipping around the amps like toys. Jake takes out 2 RDA transports most of their payloads to C4, wants a showdown with Quaritch in the amp suit. It's a bit more into the Jaeger's Berserk Man, but I prefer this. On top of the symbolism of their respective bodies, there's more a personal stake in the conflict. Not a conventional approach, but the spirit fits similarly. Face to face, eye to eye. The crack in their respective shells is also good symbolism, and the kind of playing field has been leveling ever since first Terminator. The Atiri shoots her arrows into Quaritch's lungs and embraces Jake in his human form with these words: I see you. Clothes in the RDA being sent packing and Jake being first accepted into Atiri's tribe as one of their own. The film made over $760 million in the United States and over $2 billion worldwide on a $237 million budget, and especially release alone, with it being first film ever to reach that milestone, then not the last. Subsequent releases, as recently as this year, but despite everything, there are people that still invested in this verse even after all this time. Though it did admittedly have a love-to-hate reputation in some circles, I will say that even though it's not my favorite film of Cameron's, I definitely understand why it became a hit, and I do still enjoy it after all this time. My final rating is 3.5 out of 4. With the cast and crew returning first to 4 planned sequels, I will see you soon when I look at Avatar: The Way of Water, my 25th anniversary look at Titanic. Take care, everyone.